I am so excited to chat about my favourite topic with one of my favourite people, registered nutritionist and Sunday Times best-selling author, Rhiannon Lambert.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well. I've been buzzing to come and chat to you because
Honestly,
we've been trying to get this for a long time.
We have. And we've known each other for a very long time.
Over 10 years, everybody.
Oh my God, over 10 years. That's nuts.
We're getting on a bit.
Back when we were young and youthful
I know.
and full of hope. Right.
We
Rhiannon,
still have hope. We're here
do
today.
have hope
We're here today.
because we've got fibre.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that now everyone is talking about fibre.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important for us to be dedicating a whole podcast episode to fibre?
I mean, if you'd asked me a year ago, I'd have been like, well, no, I don't think anybody's really paying attention. So it's a very bizarre thing. So I started getting into this subject. Well, as registered nutritionists, our whole lives, we've known how important fibre is. I think with every clinic consult that I've done for over a decade, I've always been focused on fibre intake. It's become more prominent because the stats are so bad. When I was writing my last book on ultra-processed foods, I started the fibre formula at the same time.
You are crazy nuts.
It was almost like this gaping hole, this gap. And I thought, this is actually wild. If 60% of our diets are ultra-processed foods and 70% for children, so we have the highest intake in Europe of ultra-processed foods, the second largest in the world for adults. And that means we're deficient in fibre. So just 4% of us in the UK get enough fibre. Canada are at 3%, they're the lowest. We're at 4%, second lowest again. It's not exactly something to be proud of. And then America are even better than us at 5% just. So I was kind of looking at these statistics and thinking, there's no wonder that our health is not on an upward trajectory. It's kind of going down. This could be a big issue. And I delved into it deeper. And of course, fiber's the crux of our digestive system.
Couldn't have put it better myself. So what actually is fibre? I think obviously we're all hearing a lot about it, but I know when I first started getting into gut health, I was like, what do you mean? Like prune juice? Like cereal? What actually is it?
Prunes, it's the one thing everyone thinks. Well, interestingly, 80% of people, this is a survey by YouGov, think fibre is literally just about your poo or your bowel movements. Now, we know, you girls know especially, that bowel movements are so important. You can't deny that aspect. But fibre is so much more. So it's the indigestible part of a plant. And that means that you essentially are not eating it, if I can simplify it in that way, but your gut bugs are eating it. And that's where all the magic sort of happens. And if we've got a very low intake of fibre, we're basically starving our gut microbiome every single day. And now we know with scientific research that fibre helps create so many pathways. I'm talking heart health, brain health, reduce cancer risk, longevity, skin, aging, performance. Fibre is linked to keeping our immune system strong because our immune system resides in our gut. I'm sure you talk about that a lot, and we will later on. But essentially, fibre is the fuel that feeds our gut bugs.
And is there different types of fibres? Because I think we hear a lot about insoluble, soluble, and I think there's even more types, isn't there?
There's hundreds. And do you know what? So many being discovered. That's what's so interesting. But I thought for ease, let's just, if only 4% of us are getting enough, let's just start with
simps.
Let's keep it simple. We're bombarded with so much information as it is online. Look at it as soluble and insoluble in very basic terms, but really we're talking about fermentation. So how that eating process happens within our gut and the byproducts that are given off from that. That's where the magic really is. But soluble fibre, kind of imagine putting oats in a glass of water. They'll kind of digest, or you put psyllium husk in or something, it creates like a gel texture, things that push everything through your gut. And then think of insoluble fibre as putting a piece of broccoli in water. It won't just break down immediately because it's a different type of fibre. It's got different purposes within the gut. So you've got these two different types of fibre that you find in nearly every food. So
I was going to say sometimes foods they don't just have one or the other, they'll have both.
They have both, and of course many strains that we're still learning about that maybe in 10 years we'll be talking about naming individual different strains of fibre. What we do know is that fibre can also plants can turn into also resistant starch, depending on whether they've been heated or cooled and cooked. And that travels further down our digestive system to nourish the bugs at the very bottom of the track. So all these types of fibres play such a different role. But the magic really is when these particular strains feed our gut bugs and they create short-chain fatty acids, which we love talking about because that's where literal magic happens within our gut. And basically, the better the gut garden, the more types of fibre, insoluble and soluble, you have, the healthier you'll be.
I was actually going to touch on resistant starch because I was trying to explain to my daughter the other day about cooled potatoes.
Yes.
And how they were so good for her.
Yeah.
But resistant starch, so I didn't realise that fact of like that actually gets the bugs at the very bottom.
Yeah, so research suggests that they reach a different set of bugs towards the end of the digestive tract. And those bugs in particular are more responsible for the gut lining. So to keep inflammation low, you want a really tight gut junction. You want the lining of your intestines to be really, really tight, because what we get otherwise is what's known as leaky gut, and you get more toxins leaking into your bloodstream, and you want that then triggers an inflammatory response. And we don't want inflammation in our body. We want it low. So the healthier your gut, the more resistant starch you eat that's created via that cooling or heating process. You take a piece of bread, put it in the freezer, then toast it again. You've got a lot of resistant starch.
And you're saving your bills on bread waste.
If everybody could freeze your bread, you're doing yourself a favour.
I always thought my mum was mad when she did that.
I know, it's cost effective.
Yeah.
Look, we're living in a cost of living crisis. You know, anything we can do to help, and I'm telling you to freeze your bread.
And then pop it in the toaster.
Yeah, pop it in the toaster. Of course, the type of bread matters. You know, you probably want to be going for your brown varieties and seeded varieties, but that is so beneficial for those bugs. And then we've also got this extra research that some strains of gut bugs, some that have been named like Akkermansia, come out at different times of day, and they've got their own circadian rhythms, and they kind of clean up like a garbage truck all the waste in your gut. And it's just a remarkable component of fibre. But basically this just means eating more plants and fruits and veg and grains, and sadly only a fifth of adults in the UK get their 5 a day.
And you touched on short chain fatty acids. That's normally the bit that we find that people start to glaze over,
I
because it
know,
sounds like super sciencey.
Yeah.
Can you explain what short chain fatty acids are and what they do in your wonderfully eloquent way?
So if you imagine, I mean, sometimes for children, when we're explaining this, I've referred to the bugs in our belly as having a pet that you're feeding every day.
Tamagotchi.
Yeah, like a Tamagotchi, if you're a millennial like us.
All the Gen Zs are going,
what is a Tamagotchi?
Do you mean Pokemon?
I've just got into Pokemon with my son. But if you feed that gut bug or the pet or the tiger or whatever it is that's inside your tummy, they might burp and give off byproducts because they're digesting the food. Those are those amazing kind of chemical reactions. These are involved in synthesizing hormones, vitamins, sending signals up our gut-brain axes. They're basically like communicator cells that have this amazing role to build new things and communicate with other parts of our gut. So without this production, we're not living to our healthiest. We're not optimizing our health. And what's really sad now is the fact that plant diversity is so low. And I must add here, it's not just about getting 30 grams of fibre a day. These short chain fatty acids depend on variety. It is about how many different types, eating a rainbow, that cheesy old saying, but it is so true. It's about what you can add in, not take out. And those little magical components play a role with training your immune system as well. So they directly interact and kind of train them up for war essentially in your body internally. They're amazing.
Oh, it's like magic. And this is why I think you and I are like just want to shout it from the rooftops. And now that we've been trying to shout it from the rooftops for a decade, and now that people are actually listening and seeing the magic in fibre, I think it's fantastic. But I think one of the barriers definitely still is getting past this sort of like idea that fibre is just about making you go and digestion, and it is linked to so much more.
What's worrying as well, I found, is that only 7% of adults know that 30 grams is the target a day.
Yeah.
So we clearly haven't had a public health campaign or any awareness. In the UK anyway, I think in some Scandinavian countries, they're really good at this.
They do it well.
They do it better. You do it better than us, massively so. It's why we're fighting for this. But what's so worrying is that fibre intake, yes, it helps with your digestion, but if we take a look at different conditions around the world and we're looking at the rise in cancers, if we start with bowel cancer, for instance, bowel cancer numbers are now rising in younger people more than ever before, and 60%, over half of cases are preventable via diet. It is huge. It's now the number 1 cancer in the US, and it's number 4 in the UK, and that figure is getting worse. And I do genuinely believe that there's so much detraction online with trends like carnivore trends or keto trends or intermittent fasting, and all sorts of different things come up that just detract from that basic message, which is just add more in, don't take so much out of your diet.
And that's a behaviour that, you know, we all struggle with, isn't it? It's like we were definitely brought up in our 20s and restricting things. And I think still people think that healthy, and to add something in is just a very, you know, obscure behavioural pattern that we need to like cut the cycle of.
It's such a shame. And I do find also for women particularly, we've been so entrenched in a diet culture sphere for so long, or we're bombarded by media trends because we are worried about our health. We've been under researched, we've been understudied, and we're going to fall victim and prey to trends because we think, oh, this might be the answer. Whereas actually what we all just need to be doing is cooking more from scratch, reducing our UPF intake, ultra processed foods, because that means we're getting more whole foods and fibre. And demonizing carbohydrates set us all on the back foot from a very early age. But if we just go back a timeline of fibre, if we just think about, if you go back to World War II, and I was writing this in the book, I've got a whole page on timelines, we were getting about 40 to 50 grams of fibre a day, even rationing.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And that's because
Why is that? Just 'cause...
we're cooking food.
Yeah.
Like we're having
big
whole
sacks
foods.
of tatties.
Yeah. Exactly.
Getting your fibre, keeping the skins on.
We were using what we had from the ground, right? We were cooking, we were rationing. We also had very low meat intake, so we were trying to substitute that with pulses and plants and different things. So we were doing our best, and our fibre intake was actually pretty good. Move up to 1950s, 60s. Women enter the workforce. Yay.
Women are incredible.
We're amazing. However, we were the cooks at home, and we have to face the fact that we were that role. And that then kind of vanished. Men didn't exactly step up in the kitchen and say, we're going to help you.
You know what? I could just pull my weight a bit here.
Yeah, I could just, we could share the load. So that's when convenience foods came in, because they were solving an issue and solving a problem. And, those old adverts that you see of microwave meals in America and TV. Yeah, and it was like this amazing treat because, of course, wow, the woman hasn't had to slave over a stove for hours. But sadly, with that process, we lost the cultural aspect of passing cooking down via generations. So with our time poor mental load that women carry every single day, we are struggling as nations now to go back to the kitchen. And I haven't even got onto the privilege element of cost of food and the state that we're in. So there's so many factors as to why I'm so passionate about trying to say we need a bit more fibre.
I know that you share the similar views for me when it comes to sugar and demonising sugar.
Yeah.
Can you speak a bit about just sugar in general and how fibre plays a part in how we sort of break it down?
Do you know, I feel like over my career and my peers before me, we've seen high fat, low sugar, low carb, high protein. You can't go low protein.
Yeah.
Like, what else can you do next? And then we've got a big push, of course, for HFSS on products, of course, to keep sugar, salt, fat low, which rightly so. But the problem is there was a massive camp for a long time saying sugar is the issue that's driving obesity even and weight gain. So we have to remember, of course, that we've got massive numbers now of those that are living with obesity, and it's not a choice. We have to remember that. But sugar is not the issue here.
So people saying you can't have fruit and all this sort of nonsense.
My
Please,
goodness.
come on.
Let's break it down. So sugar as a molecule is made of 50% glucose and fructose. Fructose, think fruit fructose.
Yeah.
Get your sugars from your fruit. Glucose is the sugar that you get that your brain likes. It's what you get from carbohydrates. Naturally, it's what you get from the cane plant when you're looking at accessing sugar and actually making it straight from the plantation. And sugar in itself is digested slightly differently depending on fructose gets metabolized in the liver and glucose hits your bloodstream. So you don't want too much of it because it will cause insulin spikes. However, when you eat a piece of fruit, it's just fructose. You don't have that glucose component, and there's lots of fiber in fruit. So you might have a small little peak in blood sugars, but that's normal. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this trend towards glucose has been so detrimental and fear-mongering. Unless you are type 2 diabetic, and by the way, fibre reduces your risk of type 2 diabetes as well, of developing it anyway, and really can help with managing your symptoms, so don't fear carbohydrates. But unless you are diabetic, these spikes in blood sugar, it's very normal not to have a straight level line. Unless you're eating a keto diet with no fibre and starving your microbiome, you're not going to have a straight line. The problem is when you chronically spike glucose, because that is not great. And even just being stressed can cause fluctuations in our glucose levels. So fruit is not the issue here. In fact, we're not getting enough fruit. There's countless randomized control trials. There's no research that says fruit is not good for you. Fruit has a large body of robust evidence. It helps you live longer, fight disease, infection, and we should be encouraging more consumption.
And it tastes great.
It tastes great. Our gut bugs love it. And we really want to feed those gut bugs the diversity. It helps your immune system stay strong. It will help you live for longer. So the demonization of sugar, I actually prefer, this is controversial sometimes, I would rather not have an artificially sweetened flavour, and I would go for sugar in less amount.
Yeah.
Purely because of the unknown interactions with our bugs.
Yeah, agree. And that's why
Yeah.
with our drinks, we went with pure sugar rather than stevia.
That is a decision I would highly echo. And the only time you need to be aware of that is tooth decay for children or if you're diabetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it true that fibre actually slows the absorption of sugar?
Yeah, it does massively.
Again,
so.
more magic.
I know. It helps your blood sugar levels. You know, it helps you manage everything. And again, if you're not getting it, that's why the issue of ultra processed foods isn't black and white. You know, healthy items can be in category 4, which you can have baked beans versus a Mars bar. They are not the same thing at all, yet they're in the same category. And the problem is that they're highly palatable and they lack the fibre, which is why when there was this research that came out from, I think it was UCL last year, and they compared 2 groups of people, one that ate ready meals with the identical calories, the identical meal, the identical nutrients. So say cottage pie 1, and the other group had cottage pie 2, which wasn't home cooked, it was a ready meal. So you've got ready meal and home cooked foods. The group that had home cooked foods lost twice as much weight, even though the numbers were the same and everything was calculated, as the group that lived off ready meals. And it's purely because of the amount of processing that breaks down the fibre of the cell walls before you eat it, which means you're having a faster effect on blood sugars and fat storage. Crazy. And then you're not nourishing your microbiome in the same way because you've already processed things and you've not left that job for your gut bugs to do.
And it may have cost you more.
And it probably did cost you a lot more, although time poor, I understand.
Yeah. Oh, we're all there. We're all there. In the trenches when it comes to time.
I don't cook home cooked meals every single day. That's why I wrote a book where I can batch cook and get things ready.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you touched on weight management there. I think protein gets all the glory when it comes to satiation. Satiation? Is that right?
Satiation. Feeling satiated.
Feeling satiated.
What a mouthful.
But fibre does the same.
Yeah, it does. I would actually say they work together really nicely.
Yeah.
And I think the dreamy foods are those that contain protein and fibre. You've got the quinoa, the beans, the pulses, the lentils. Even oats contain some protein alongside fibre. Surprise, surprise. And protein is one of the biggest mistakes I think we've made in terms of marketing and health hype in this country to date, because it's detracted massively from quality of food, from fibre, from gut bugs. We've never had a protein deficiency.
No. I mean, rarely people would be in this country deficient in protein.
Yeah. I mean, you are bound to be getting enough. And yes, we can all work on getting more. As we age, especially as women, we need to be aware of our intake. But I'm not worried about you.
No.
I mean, if you were in another country, sadly, in a different socioeconomic world, there are serious protein deficiencies and you will see it and know about it. And it's very sad. And we are very lucky here not to have that issue. There's never been a national diet survey that said the UK has an issue with protein. Believe me, you are all getting enough. It's 4% of you are getting enough fibre. 96% of you are not hitting that target at all. That's what I'm more worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah, protein just feels like it's slapped on a packet and is given what we call in nutrition research a health halo.
Yes. But it's like, I think they've done research like side by side of like yogurts that say protein on it, and actually it's got like 0.001% more protein than the normal yogurt.
My husband comes home with those squeezy pouches. Look, I bought a protein yogurt. I'm like, have you not been listening to anything?
Yeah. That's like, look, like my husband, the penny is just dropping with him with fibre.
And like,
I'm
yogurt
like,
contains protein already.
Yeah.
I mean, like 2 cans of chickpeas, you've got like fraction the price. Well, 80p a can sometimes. I mean, a piece of chicken will cost you like £6 these days. And then that's 20 grams of protein and up to 20 grams of fibre in like 2 cans that have cost you nothing. I mean, what a dream. The UK has a target to double beans and pulses intake by 2028.
I saw that, and everyone loves a baked bean.
Everyone loves, and we should not be demonising these
7
things.
grams of fibre a can, I think.
Amazing.
Like that.
Yeah, amazing. Rich source of protein and fibre.
I get the big massive trays from Costco. They sit in my kitchen because my daughter's got a good obsession with eating cold beans at the minute, so I'm all for it.
Nice, out the jar. My kids do it out the jar.
Yeah.
Good. Do you know, there's a lot of things as well. Beans are a really good one for children because you can blend them into cheese sauces as well.
Oh, yeah, what a great shout.
Add them into mac and cheese. They won't know. It doesn't taste any different. Bulk up soups. Yeah, really genius ingredient. Costs nothing compared to everything else.
Talking about beans, I just want to come on to heart health a bit. Heart health 100%. Is, something that Lisa and I are obviously really passionate about. Our dad died of a heart attack when he was 58. And, fibre definitely wasn't on his agenda, I don't think. And I do genuinely believe if he ate more fibre, he'd still be here today. And, I think 8 of his friends died within 2 years. They were all in their 50s of heart attacks. And fibre is a directly linked to our heart health, isn't it?
Hugely so. Now, I'm sure everybody like yourself knows somebody or someone in your family that's either on statins or affected by heart health. It is still the biggest killer, and for women in this country, which people don't realise. I think they associate it with being a male disease actually, rather than affecting women. There's many reasons for that. As we go through menopause, we're more predisposed. We're about estrogen protection. But first of all, fibre plays such a crucial role. It binds to bile acid as well, and it helps lower our cholesterol by helping excretion. Imagine fibre as being your best friend for helping fats pass through your digestive system before they get absorbed into your bloodstream and transported around by lipoproteins and doing their different jobs. Fibre reduces heart disease massively. I think the number of cases we have, and the British Heart Foundation was speaking about this recently, could be reduced. I think, again, it was like 60 to 70% of cases could be prevented by having higher fibre diets.
7 grams more or something, isn't it?
Yeah, a day from childhood all the way up. And the problem is we start furring up our arteries, so creating fatty deposits in childhood. We're not aware. It depends what diet you feed your children. And that happens across the life course. So by the time you reach early adulthood, or very sadly when you get to your 40s, your 50s, if you haven't amended your lifestyle, you are more predisposed to blocked arteries and different types of cardiovascular disease. And that also can have an impact on our brain health, of course, as well, when we're looking at the blockage of the pathways that blood is supplied to our brain. So fibre, not just about poo, not just about the microbiome, heart disease, cancer risk, keeping cholesterol low. It's a big myth, actually, that we don't need to be worried about saturated fat, and fibre helps us process all of the ingredients. It's like another key role of our digestion.
Oh, the best.
I know.
Just before we get on to your hints and tips and tricks, because I think that's what people are like, I get it. Fibre's really important. How do I get there? I just want to touch on women's health.
Yes, please.
And fibre, because I know that they are linked.
Intrinsically interlinked. We know we've got the a whole gut microbiome called the estrobolome.
I can never say it.
Estrobolome. We see, really worryingly, so for women, we're up against it, right? Our whole lives. We have menstruation still, we have puberty, menstruation.
Women are incredible.
We are amazing. Menopause, we deal with so many hormonal fluctuations, but those hormonal fluctuations have a consequence in our gut. We know throughout menopause as estrogen declines, we've got estrogen receptors within our gut, that sadly our amount of gut bugs decline as well, around the same time as estrogen starts to decline. It's never been more important for women to feed the gut bugs, add fermented foods to your diet, keep the fibre intake high, because you want to keep that diversity of bugs. Now also, we're then predisposing ourselves as women to cancers and heart disease without the fibre, because we no longer have that protection from estrogen. It's why we tend to get these conditions later in life, and men tend to get it earlier because men don't have estrogen protecting them in that way. I cannot emphasize enough the estrogen receptors. That's why you get bloated around your period. You get different peaks of progesterone and drops and rises, and that awful luteal phase, which we all hate as women. And then you go through perimenopause symptoms. Fibre can single-handedly reduce those symptoms. And then there's also research. So fibre alongside phytoestrogens from soy products, really beneficial for women.
What sort of things would that be?
Like edamame beans, tofu. Tofu's great with fibre and protein as well. Same with edamame beans. So what's so interesting is when research compared Asian cultures to Western cultures, they have lower rates of osteopenia and heart disease, even though they have no dairy in their diets, which is the calcium aspect that we go on about in Western cultures. But they have a lot of fibre because they do a lot of home cooked foods, and they have a lot of soy. And those alone have been shown to reduce hot flashes as well. Hot flashes, if you're American listening.
Flashes.
Hot flashes. But yeah, for women, also with skin. So there's more research supporting fibre in our skin than there is for collagen.
What?
I know. So all this collagen hype, you could be spending a fortune, whereas there's actually way more research that fibre supports our skin axis, which we're looking at now. The gut-brain axis, we're looking at the skin microbiome and the connections and communications that happen there. And then we've also, just to add one more bit about women's health, they've now been looking at longevity and how long, it's a popular topic at the moment, trying to live for as long as you can and look as youthful as you can.
Thrive for as long as you can.
Exactly. But our telomeres, so part of our DNA and chromosomes, imagine loads of little X's. and you want to keep those extras as long as possible. And as we age, they get a little bit shorter because we're wearing down the ends of those telomeres. But actually, if you eat more fibre and hit your 30 grams a day and get your 30 plants a week, like my fibre formula, you can add another 5 years onto your life and you can keep the ends lengthened. So once again, we're doing ourselves a disservice on all angles here, and let's talk about it.
Amazing. Just to round off the sort of info and the educational bit, what's your favourite fibre stat?
Do you know what I would say about fibre? My favourite one is that 80% of people think it's just poo, because I'm glad that 80% of people know that it's good to have a bowel movement, but I don't want you to turn to just using fibre supplements and just thinking I'm going to bulk everything up to hit my 30 grams a day, because that is confusing. That misses the mark. You have to have a diverse range of plants, of foods, a diverse diet to get all the benefits around that. Don't just take a shot of psyllium husk every single day and expect it to work like a magic pill.
So in the book, what sort of tips and tricks do you give? Because 30 grams of fibre is so hard to get, and most of us aren't just missing the mark, we're way off the mark.
Can I argue with you and say I think it's easier to get if you know?
Yes.
So
it changes behaviour, doesn't it?
It changes behaviour. So I shouldn't say this, use ChatGPT to count how much you're having, anything. Write it down in your notes section on your phone.
It's not mandatory unpack, is it either, fibre? It's so hard to know.
It's also not been made easy for companies to put on because of health claims and what you can and can't disclose on packets and how they have put the reference nutrient intake.
Bowel movement. You're not going to have that on a food packet.
No, it's not a sexy label like a health halo, like high protein. So what's so interesting as well is that I created a fibre formula, so it's like an easy way for people. But let's start with getting 30 grams a day. A bowl of porridge, just 40 grams of oats or something, a banana, maybe a sprinkle of
flaxseed,
nuts, flaxseed, anything like that, some fruit. You can easily get 9 grams of fibre, nearly 10 grams. That's a third of your whole day.
Off to the races. Breakfast.
You're good. Bowl of cereal, please top it up. Add a piece of fruit or add some nuts. Again, you'll get around 10 grams of fibre. You're kind of done. Where we fall short is lunch.
Okay.
Is convenience foods.
Meal
it's
deals.
That fibre gap. It's the fibre gap is meal deals in the afternoon, which is why you want a bar, something that tops it up. You want to have a piece of fruit with it. Popcorn has twice the amount of fibre as crisps.
10 grams I have the whole thing to myself, obviously, and I put some butter on it, which maybe not.
I've got some good popcorn recipes. I've got like 3 different amazing ones in there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. 10 grams of that on a massive bowl.
Honestly, popcorn, really good snack for fibre over a pack of crisps. And of course, there's different types of crisps. You can buy the potato flake variety that aren't really crisps, that don't give you much, or the baked actual potatoes, which give you a little bit more. Dark chocolate contains fibre.
Yes.
Just switch up the types of foods. I've got like an easy swaps page in there. Okay. But it's lunch where people fall short, because in the evening, most people tend to try and cook a bit more or think a bit more, have a little tiny bit more time. The formula is 30 grams of plants a week, 30 grams of fibre a day, 30 chews a mouthful. I just want to...
Yes. I think we all forget.
We all forget to chew our food, or we're looking at a mobile phone or a TV or a screen and we're not taking a lunch break. That directly breaks the digestive process, and you'll be more prone to bloating, more prone to IBS-like symptoms, poor digestive symptoms, because you're not absorbing the food effectively because you've broken the process. So try and focus on those 30 chews. Do you know there's a really scary stat that today children are not chewing as much because of ultra-processed food intake. And there's some links that scientists are saying their jaw structure is changing as human beings, like evolutionally speaking, like Darwin style, that our jaws may change because of how we're chewing our food. And then I've got meals in 30 minutes. You can't forget the number 30.
30, yeah, I was going to say the magic 30.
Yeah.
I mean, I am, that's one of my biggest things is I don't drink enough water, and we need to do when we're up in our fibre, don't we?
So don't just do this overnight. I'm honoured if you all want to go away.
Don't go from zero to hero, guys.
Don't do a 0 to hero Hercules. I want you to do a slow and steady. Let's start with breakfast, or let's start with dinner. Then let's add something else in. Drink more water to help your digestion. Otherwise, you're going to add a can of beans and your gut bugs are going to go crazy, and you will get a lot of bloating and gas.
That thing I want to touch on, I think, because a lot of people, when they say fibre, they're like, oh no, it makes me bloated.
Yeah, it makes me
blah,
fart, or they're panicked about it.
Yeah.
It's so normal, because, do you know, in tribes in other parts of the world, like the Hadza tribe, which are the most researched indigenous tribes in the world, they have up to 150 grams of fibre a day. We can't even... Like heroes, because
imagine the size of their poos.
Yeah.
I think we had that on
Yes.
our TV show, actually, the
yes,
size of the poo.
and the
it was
heavier
huge.
the weight of your stool, the healthier you are.
All right, so if it sinks to the bottom, you're gold.
You are doing
You're
well,
gold.
depending on the type of diet quality. But honestly, it's a good thing. And I know that sounds really crude and everyone's thinking, oh, I don't want to feel like that. But they've trained their body in a way where their gut bugs, the living things inside them, are so used to the type of diet they're feeding them. We have to train them. You know, it's like a, what's the analogy people use? It's like you wouldn't run a car without fuel. You've got to put the fuel in first. You've got to get it used to it, top it up frequently, get it used to running effectively.
Can we overdo it? Because I think, you know, some people are like, oh, once they hear, it's like once you hear about the magic of fibre, you're like, let's go.
I know. You can overdo it too quickly, but you've got it, your body is your guide. If you are somebody that has an irritable bowel disease, you know, IBD, you definitely need to be careful because that's not designed for your body. You've got to find a different approach. Or if you're someone that's prone to a very stressful working day, you might find that you need to wait till the weekend to start experimenting with fibre when you're a bit more relaxed. Don't do it when you've got a stressful day in the office at work. So use a bit of common sense, be your own detective. And I guide you through that, obviously, in the Fibre Formula book, how to approach these difficult things. But essentially, it really is about just taking things slow. That is the biggest message, slow and steady changes.
Which is a difficult thing
We
for
all
us
want
to do
things,
in this day and age.
We want them right now. We
Instantly.
want quick fixes, don't we?
So there's no upper limit. Like if you're taking it slowly over the year, the sky's the limit. Go for gold.
If you're drinking water, go for gold. Oh, you've heard it. The Huds tribes have 150. Some scientists, I mean, I don't think this is as approachable, believe that we should be putting the target of 50 grams, not 30.
I saw that.
I mean, if you spoke, you know, you'll have Professor Tim Spector on again soon. He's very much an advocate of that. He wants people to have 3 portions of fermented foods a day. Yeah. But in a culture in this country where we currently don't even have one, it's really hard to introduce. But if we can all just aim for 30, it's so doable.
Yeah. And I think even just the simple hacks of like keeping the skins on.
Yeah.
Could you look at your like rice and go, like my husband's like, oh, brown rice is like cardboard. So it's like, could you have,
do half, or put some quinoa in. Let's mix up the grains. And I mix quinoa with rice for my kids.
Oh, that's a great
all
shout.
the time. But the white quinoa, because otherwise they see the black.
Yes, yeah. Speaking of kids, my daughter the other day, I was in the car taking her to nursery and she shouts to the back, Mummy, did you know that fibre is good for you? I'm like, did I know that fibre was good? I was like, it's fibre. And yes, I knew, thank you. She's like, it's in apples. I'm like, you're correct.
Go her.
Correct.
They're learning about
She's obviously listening
apples.
to my Teams calls. What like, A, how much fibre should kids be getting? And B, what hacks do you have? I know you've got 2 boys. How do you get fibre in them apart from the old quinoa rice hack?
Do you know, I've got a 3 and a 5-year-old and they have
2 under 2, you're mad.
Yeah, it was hard. They've got kiwis every morning. We have like a lot of fruit. They always have breakfast. Kiwis are one of the best high source fibre fruits. Interestingly, it's NHS guidance now to try and use 2 kiwis a day instead of taking laxatives initially, which is an amazing, groundbreaking move for us health professionals. But for children, it's not as hard as you think if you start them off that way. It's when they're age 6 to 8, 10, and you're trying to introduce new foods that the persevere. You have to persevere and try a few new experiments. So I always say start with sweet things if you're that age group. Mm-hmm. I think you can make the most delicious sweet treats like frozen grapes mixed with yogurt and dark chocolate in the fridge. Break it up. It's like a fruity chocolate bar. Put some nut butter in. Make it like a Snickers bar. Put banana, nut butter.
I want you to be
chocolate.
That hungry.
My kids don't say that. Can you imagine? Oh, yeah, I do love that my mummy's a nutritionist.
Yeah.
You know, they go,
where's this chocolate bar? I've got a bit of bark.
I know.
It'll do you good in the future.
Do you know what? There's so many hacks, and I've got a whole section for children's nutrition because I feel so passionately that with 70% of their diets being UPFs at the moment, it's so concerning that we're not getting the whole foods. But like I said, it's the little things that you don't see. It's the hacks like if they love pizza, make them a pizza, just change the base. Often they don't notice it's a whole wheat base over a white base. Yeah. Try and add more diversity in the tomato sauce. That is what you blend and mix and then you add because they don't see it. Alternatively, like I said, sweet treats are the best things that my kids have a sprinkle jar at home or a nut jar, you know, a diversity jar. And in the morning, they love just getting a spoon of a mix of seeds and sprinkle it on because it's normal to them. I mean, we did not grow up like that.
Oh, no.
I mean, but I still love a Weetabix. You can't go wrong with some bran flakes, Weetabix. Those cereals are great fibre starts in the morning. It's when they're at school, which is a whole other subject, and the evening meal that you've got to really go for it.
Yeah. We're running out of time now, but I just couldn't have this episode about fibre and not talk about fibre and mental health?
Huge. That's the one area I'm so glad you brought it up, because we have a epidemic of poor mental health. And again, it correlates with our line of overall wellness and well-being and health going downwards. Fibre feeds the gut bugs. Those short-chain fatty acids, the magic components we discussed before, play such a key role in keeping our serotonin production, our happy hormone going. And this is different to dopamine. So, you can get dopamine-related food cycles, which are like a reward release, which is something you don't want to be spiking a lot of. And a lot of a bag of sweets will give you a spiking dopamine,
Tub of ice cream,
then a crash. Yeah, but it's why you keep wanting to eat more. It's like this vicious reward cycle. Serotonin is that hormone that works quite peacefully actually alongside your brain. It is derived from tryptophan, a particular amino acid from proteins as well. But the fibre is the key component. And we have research you've probably discussed from the SMILES trials before, which said that eating a Mediterranean diet full of fibre, 30 plus grams a day, is more effective than therapy for clinical depression. So we know that our mental health, we can be happier, we can be healthier, we can be calmer, we can be more productive. Our brain, we can prevent decline, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia. We're now looking at fibre as well, because fibre can help play a role with neurons and synapses that we're starting to discover because of this connection with our gut-brain axis. Mental health and fibre are like one thing together. But with 4% of us getting enough, is it any wonder that that component is so overlooked for mental health in the system? Food and mood is everything.
Yeah. And we had Miguel on a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he's a neuroscientist, and I shared modules with him at Roehampton.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he was talking about, we were focusing on fermented foods then, but he was talking about the links between gut health and ADHD now.
Yes. So,
crazy.
I mean, there's so many other areas. That's very new. That's very, very new. And I think we should start taking our diets very seriously when it comes to mental health. I would love to see our government implement a whole change. I've already taken fibre to Parliament twice now.
Go on, girl.
I'm trying really, really hard, and I really want to work on preventative measures. We need our children cooking more. We need to get this into children's diets so we don't have an epidemic of adults that are coming forwards that are all going to have poor mental health and productivity.
And just to end on, I know normally we end on something that we've learned. To be honest, I thought I knew everything. No, I was going to say I thought I knew everything about fibre, but genuinely, I've learned more today. So thank you.
Good, pleasure.
It can feel overwhelming, I think, when it comes to fibre, because I think people are like, they find out how magic it is, then they're like, oh, I need to do it, and then they start to do it, and they're like, oh, I don't even know how much fibre is in an apple. I don't like. What is the one tip that you could give people if they want to up their fibre intake tomorrow? What should they do? Apart from read your book, of course. Okay. Step 1, read the book.
Step 1 is, what meal do you make every day that you stick to, and start with that meal. Start with breakfast, layer it up. There's these trends that go around for some of you, Gen Z, like fibremaxxing, fibre layering. Just add another layer, add some seeds, add some nuts, add a nut butter even, add some fruit, just add something else. Then step 2 is snacks. Now, I know a lot of people are controversial about snacks, but actually there's no harm in some berries or a banana or some cucumber crudités mid-morning or mid-afternoon with some hummus, because that is a really easy way to add fibre to your diet. Step 3 is then 1 new plant food a week. Like, I've started, this is my little thing, I'm not perfect. I normally saute onions as a base for most meals, curry, spag bowl, whatever it would be. I now add leeks, because of course you've got prebiotic foods like you just said that feed your gut bugs instead of those probiotics you add in. But I add leeks with the onions because it's another plant. Sometimes I'll mix fennel with it because I don't normally cook with fennel, and then I'll add that to the base. The kids don't know. They have no idea I've added another 2 plants to the meal.
And if you're like me, I know some people listening might be a bit like me, and I don't feel that hungry in the morning. So for me, having a big bowl of porridge is just
you don't need to do that if it's not for you.
What would you do for someone that maybe eats a bit later in the day? Because then you're sort of like on the back foot of your fibre intake.
It's hard. It is harder if you're that person, because you've then got to fill 30 grams in lunch and dinner. Or if you are a mid-morning snack, the perfect thing to do is at like 11:30ish, have an overnight oat pot, or have that piece of breakfast you prepared with you as like a brunch, and then have lunch at 1 or 2 and then have dinner. But you need to be more aware of it if that's your type, because it is harder then. You've got a shorter time frame and window. And also you don't want to be eating too late, because then that disrupts your sleep and the digestive process. There's research from King's College London that says 9 p.m. is this optimum time. Just do not snack after 9 p.m. because it doesn't...
That's quite late. I think I'm nearly sleeping by 9 p.m.
Well, we're parents, aren't we?
And we love reading.
And we like reading.
Akatar. So I am in bed 8 p.m. with the Akatar
With your
series.
book.
Nobody's stopping me.
I have
With a
to
peppermint
say,
tea.
my husband's not seen me since I started this particular series of books because every night I just want to read my book.
My husband was basically like, I need to put some wings on for you to pay me some attention.
That's so
yeah,
funny.
if you want, hun.
Proud that he knows about that.
Exactly.
But no, seriously, 9 o'clock, try and just curb it by then. But you need to be organised. Now, there's no one else that's going to do this for you. And I know that's a really difficult thing to say. But if you want to make a change, just give yourself an extra hour on the weekend. Just give yourself something that you can prep your habit across the week. Even if it's a flapjack bar you've made yourself with tons of diversity in it, that's such a win compared to a chocolate bar that you'd get, or a croissant. Although I love a croissant on the go, but croissants aren't fibre rich.
Yeah, no.
Sadly,
I think I did 1.8 grams. It's not a lot.
it's not
Poor old
great.
croissant.
But
good for your taste buds, not so good for your belly bugs.
Exactly. Every now and again, food is all about balance.
Yeah. Rhi, thank you so much.
Thanks
You're a
for having
legend.
me.